it's taken me a while to try to compose myself enough to do this. And as I'm sure you already are aware by either just the thumbnail or the title of this video, we lost a very good friend recently. And before I start into all this, I just want to say there's no fluff, there's no plugs, simply just respect for this man. Because he wasn't just one of my friends, he was a brother in arms. I met Logan the same exact time that I met Trevor. And as far as when that was exactly, we're still a little unsure. I think it might have been 2014. Trevor seems to think that it might have been 2015. But regardless, for the last 10, 11 years, you know, I was very proud to call this man one of my friends. So again, no fluff, no plugs, strictly focused on Logan here. There's no clout, there's no sympathy, there's no empathy, none of that. I just simply want to tell the general public who Logan was. I may have known him as either NR Bears 1 or SewerRat, but he was Logan, and he was a real one. He was a close friend, a confidant, and again, he was a brother in arms. And I'm really sorry that if I get emotional during this, I've had to cut it off a couple times now, where I started getting a little too choked up, a little too emotional, and couldn't finish what I have written for him. So I'm hoping to be able to actually get through all this without being too choked up. And I'm sorry if it's a little hard for you to understand me. The only real editing I'm putting into this is if I do get too choked up, I'll put some subtitles down here at the bottom or whatever. But I want to tell this story of Logan and what he meant to me. So without any further ado, here's Logan's memorial script. There are names we remember, faces we carry, stories we tell, not because they're dramatic or flashy, but because they meant something. And this is one of those stories. This is for Logan, or as we knew him, SewerRat. Logan was more than a gamer. He was a husband, a father, a brother in arms, a United States Marine. But when you got to know him, when the uniforms and titles faded into the background, what stood out most was his soul. Logan had this calm energy to him, that kind of presence that even in the middle of a chaotic firefight in DayZ could still anchor a squad. Not by barking orders, not by demanding anything, but just by being steady, level-headed, gentle. The kind of guy who listened more than he spoke. And when he did speak, you paid attention. Not because he was loud, but because what he said mattered. We met through gaming, like so many of us do. And it didn't take long for him to become more than just a name on a player list. We played DayZ together, ran missions, died in dumb ways, fought off squads, and sometimes spent hours doing absolutely nothing. And that was fine, because Logan made it even the quietest parts feel meaningful. He wasn't about being the loudest, the flashiest, or the sweatiest. He was about being there. Showing up, helping out, making sure the guy next to him had ammo or food or just a reason to laugh. There's something rare in that. A loyalty you don't have to earn because he gave it freely. He was the guy that stayed behind when others logged off, the one who volunteered to go into a building first, not to show off, but because someone had to. He had a beautiful wife, a son, a life outside of games, built on love and responsibility. And still, somehow, he made time for us, for the friends who knew him through a mic and monitor. And that speaks volumes. He saw value in this space, in these connections, in us. And we sure as hell saw value in him. Not because he was perfect, because none of us are, but because he was real. He was the kind of guy who'd quietly check in on you without making a big deal of it, who could crack a joke that cut through the tension without crossing the line, who wouldn't take himself too seriously, but never disrespected anyone else. We lost Logan, and when the message came through, it didn't feel real. How could someone like that, so rooted, so present, so consistent, just be gone? The kind of news that doesn't just hit hard, it hits deep. The first thing we felt was heartbreak. The next was helplessness. Trev had reached out. He had contacted the developers of Caravanners, a game that we were all very excited about, a game that Logan had been looking forward to. And the devs listened. They heard Logan's story. They made space for him inside the world that they were building. And now Logan is part of that game. A small memorial, quiet, humble, fitting. Logan lives on, not just in a game file, not just lines in the code, but in us. Every mission we run, in every laugh we share over comms, in the quietest moments between the gunfire and the chaos, when things settle and you can feel someone's absence like a missing heartbeat. He's there, and we carry that forward. Every time we squad up, every time we push into a new zone, every time we tell a story or relive a memory, he's there. Not as a ghost, but as part of the team. Logan, SewerRat, you are missed. You were one of the good ones. A man who served, a man who loved, and a man who gave a damn. Rest easy, brother. We'll take it from here. I'm sorry, I just need just a moment. Just a few words before I cut the video off. Again, Logan and I weren't exactly like inseparable. Logan and I were pretty good together, you know, like we were, how do I put this? Like, I never disrespected him. He never disrespected me. We were a lot closer when we first met. Not that we really faded away from each other, but mainly because of like scheduling and just overall like life, you know. He got the opportunity to play with Trevor a lot more, especially as adults. But the one story I've also kind of written down, and I'll sum it up very quickly, was that a couple of years ago, I had kind of a long weekend, like a 4-day weekend from work. And my wife decided that she was going to go with her mom to an overnight stay. And I told Trevor, like, hey, you know, my wife's going to be doing this. And he goes, oh, cool. Logan and I will be playing DayZ. I was like, oh my God, that'd be so cool. Be able to play DayZ again with him. You know, it had been a while. And we played, I think it was roughly like 12 to 14 hours straight. Only taking minor bathroom breaks, you know, take a break to grab another beer or whatever. It was a lot of fun, and it was great being able to play with a friend for so long. He will always be part of the squad. He will always be a Marine. He will always be a loving father and a loving husband. And like I said before, Trevor reached out to the devs of the game Caravanners, and they made a very beautiful memorial for him. I was also given from the devs, myself and Trevor, Juice, Connor, we were all given keys to the game early. We don't have access to the game currently at the time of this recording, but we're all going to make a trip over to the memorial and try to say, a couple words about Logan. I know Connor's had quite a few dealings with him. Juice did get to meet him at least once. And like I said, Logan was, as I like to put it, $1 million kind of guy. He was the type of person that physically gave a damn once he got to know you. We would hop in game and he'd be like, oh, do you need a gun? Do you need ammo? Do you need, a magazine? Do you need food or drink or grenades or whatever? Do you need clothing? And it feels so surreal now knowing that I'll never get to have that conversation with him again. And I'm sorry if you are one of the unfortunate few who also knew him and you're hearing me say this. I don't mean it with any animosity. I don't mean to be negative. But I wish, from my own point of view, I wish that he was a larger presence here on the channel. I wish that he was a larger presence in the streams, because he's a very likable kind of person. He was literally $1 million kind of guy. Not that he had $1 million, but it was just his character, his personality was worth more than $1 million. And it sucks that he's gone. What I will say is this, and I don't want to tell the full story because, number one, it is kind of long, but number two, it's also very personal. Logan had gotten out of the Marines a couple years ago, so he now has a civilian job. And he was the kind of person that always had like a game plan, no matter what. He always had to make sure that everyone knew their role as far as what they were doing, when they were doing it, how they were doing it, and why they were doing it. And that carried over into his real life as well as personal life. And he had told a couple of the guys working with him, like, hey, this is what we're going to do, and this is how we're going to do it. If you see this, you do this. If you don't see this, you do this, And it was an accident at work that tragically took his life. And I still feel like this is some sort of like terrible prank, that he's still with us, even though he's not. And I wish that I had the ability to go to his funeral this upcoming week after the 4th of July. But I unfortunately just am unable to make it. I really do regret not having him be a larger part of this channel. Because again, he was a very, very likable person. I know I've said that 3 times already, but like, I genuinely mean it. He really was a very likable person, and it's a shame that he's gone now. And I feel nothing but sorrow for his family, immediate family, his extended family, close friends, Trevor included. And again, this is not me trying to be negative. I genuinely do feel absolute sorrow for the family. It's a very tragic thing when someone you love or care for passes. It's a very tragic thing. I don't always have the ability to say exactly what's on my mind, because I'm maybe too afraid to say, you know, oh well, it's this because of XYZ. Like, I'm afraid I'm going to offend someone on a personal level, which of course you don't ever want to do. But you know, Logan, you are always part of the squad, my friend. You know, you're always my brother in arms, and I'm going to reach out to Trevor here shortly to see if there is a GoFundMe or anything, if anyone wants to contribute to Logan's family, especially with such a tragic passing. Not that you would be required, of course, you know, but this is also going to sound a little selfish, but in the event, again, wishy-washy, in the event that this channel does become eventually monetized, this will be one of those videos that will remain unmonetized. I will not monetize this under no circumstances. I don't want to try to ever have anyone try to accuse me of profiting off of a friend's passing. That's just not part of my moral code. Doesn't sit right with me. But once the game Caravanners does come out, like I said, Trevor, Juice, Connor, and myself will all take a trip out to the memorial, no matter where it is, and go visit Logan, and again say some nice things for, you know, on his behalf. And I would greatly appreciate if you joined us for that little adventure out there. I did take a peek at the memorial. It is absolutely beautiful, and the devs did an amazing job. I will link Caravanners down below in the description for anyone who does want to check it out and maybe take your own personal trip out there and say a few kind words about Logan. They do ask that, you know, you wish list it, because they're ultra hyped for the game, of course, you know, and gaming won't quite ever really be the same. But at the same time, you know, we have to still put that one foot in front of the other, and it sucks. He is missed. He was one of the good ones. Gaming will always be part of our lives, and now we have another reason for gaming, as you know, having as much fun in gaming as we can possibly ever have, you know, for Logan's sake. So I'm going to go ahead and cut the video off here. Thank you very much for watching. I'm sorry that it's not under happier circumstances, and I know I have not been posting nearly as much as I should be, but you know, sometimes life just gets in the way. But I will, I guess I'll see you guys in the next one. So until then, take care. And I genuinely mean that.